As we continue on, we're talking about the elderly, and maybe you have elderly parents or know people who do, and there's some things that maybe you can do to help the situation. And to discuss that with us is a representative from an organization called Synergy Home Care. Ruth Busalacchi is a longtime franchise owner of Synergy Home Care. And of course, there's a lot of good organizations around the country that do these kinds of services. But let's just kind of dive right into this. You're talking about something called benevolent probing, and it's basically by observation. Kind of well, before we talk about the specific areas, but let me allow you to set things up. What are some of the challenges that, say, those who are dealing with elderly parents are dealing with, and as we continue to have sort of the graying of America?
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Bruce, for having me on the show. We are very proud at Synergy Home Care to share this information with your listeners. We're recognizing that as the greatest generation and the baby boomers are aging, they are saying that they choose to stay home. 86% of them, in fact, choose to stay in their own home. But often that means that they do need perhaps a little bit of support. And it's difficult to sometimes know when is that support needed, and you want that before you reach a crisis. And so what we have learned is the concept of benevolent probing, of really opening your eyes and your ears and your senses when you are visiting with your loved ones, can help identify some key areas to address and find solutions so that folks like us at Synergy Home Care can give you some options so that staying at home can be fulfilled.
Well, let's take them one at a time. There's 4 key areas here. The activities of daily living. I guess this is just the basics. If you visit your parent and they're not living their lives the way they normally would. Kind of talk to me about that briefly.
Absolutely. So really it's about managing your daily living. How are you getting along? How are you managing that? And how will you recognize that? A family member needs to really be aware of their loved one's appearance. Are they taking good care of themselves? Do they appear shaven, well shaven? Do they have stains on their clothes? Are their clothes perhaps loose fitting? You can see this whether you're on a video chat or in person, but we know during the holidays, families are usually visiting a little bit more in person. Take a walk around the house. Does it appear a little bit more cluttered than usual? Maybe even open up the refrigerator and see what's in the refrigerator. You can learn a lot by looking in someone's refrigerator to see how well they're eating. And checking medication. That's a huge, huge tip-off. Are they taking their medication properly? Does it look as though they have a good handle on those meds, or have some of them gone empty and they haven't refilled them?
Let's talk a little bit about memory. Of course, memory is an issue as you deal with an older population, but there may be some quick ways that you can get a read on whether that's an issue.
We suggest to start a conversation about current events. If you're a family member, the easiest thing to do really is just to talk about family events. Who's having babies? Who's getting married? How well are they responding to your questions? You want to steer away from open or yes and no questions, and instead you want to ask open-ended questions to really get a true answer. We have found at Synergy Home Care that when an individual is having some issues with memory, it's very natural to sort of hide that. And so a simple yes or no question isn't enough. You might need to probe just a little bit deeper.
Let's talk a little bit about mobility. Again, as people get older, they are maybe dealing with mobility issues, but there may be something you can look for to see if there's a concern.
You know, when we visit our loved ones, we often want to sit and chat, but there's nothing better than going for a walk. Even a walk around the house, a tour of the house. And by doing that, you're going to see how easily do they get in and out of a chair. How well are they walking? Has their gait slowed down? Does it look as though maybe they're a little bit unsteady on their feet? And their endurance, how long can they go for a walk? You recognize those things when you actually take someone for a walk, and it's a much more natural way to find out how they're truly doing instead of just asking, Mom, can you get up? I want to see how well you're walking. It's a much kinder, more benevolent way.
And the final set of the 4 social engagements, asking whether, I'm guessing, the elderly person is still involved in activities?
Without a doubt. The fear of being isolated can lead to depression, and that can have a snowball effect. Less social engagement can actually increase memory issues. So fear of falling, people tend to isolate. So you can ask simple questions of your family. When was the last time you saw your friend Mabel? And recognizing that now with a lot of safer at home orders, how are you connecting with Mabel? I know you used to meet once a week and play cards. Are you still able to connect? It's really getting a sense of where are they in terms of mental health and engagement.
Ruth, wrap-up question. We've talked about all these 4 areas. In this age of COVID-19, I'm guessing it is more challenging for folks to do sort of these things. You mentioned several times that they could spot some of these concerns on a video call. How is that tying into the current issue with dealing with helping the elderly with their needs?
We're all trying to deal with these new struggles in our daily life. We're finding that while most of us can adapt to those changes, generally speaking, some of our seniors have difficulty with some of the technology related to that. And that's why a face-to-face is sometimes a priceless opportunity. Families who are concerned about their loved ones and really can't see them face-to-face, and even in their attempts to try to video chat, reach out to Synergy Home Care. We can help them put together a plan that makes sense for their loved one, and then we can do that face-to-face and provide some reassurance for their family that not only are their needs being met, they're supported. We're recognizing if there is a crisis before it becomes a crisis, but for families, it's a huge peace of mind.
Ruth Busalacchi is with the organization called Synergy Home Care, where we've been talking about keeping an eye out on our elderly family members and that sort of thing. We thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.